Okay, so let's talk death. There are way too many beliefs of what a person's afterlife consists of. Six to be exact. One is materialism, meaning absolutely nothing. The death is just the end of you. Two is paganism, a ghost-like soul living amongst the dead. Three is reincarnation, your soul residing in someone or something else. Don't I wish that I could just come back to this earth over and over again. 4. Pantheism, believing that all separateness is an illusion. Kind of like ancestors who have died, yet they still live on. 5 is immortality. Simply put, your soul has one home. It's either heaven or hell. And 6, resurrection, where your soul separates from your body, traveling to the end of the world, to its new resurrected body by a divine miracle. Bottom line, it's a supernatural afterlife rather than a natural immortality. So while I am naming these off, I'm sure anybody could think to themselves, oh yeah, that one sounds like Buddhism. Or yeah, that one sounds like African religion, sorry. And that sounds like the Amish would believe in, etc. Well, I too thought this when reading them. So naturally, to myself I thought, what kind of, culture sounds like these? Well, what about the Eskimos? What is it that culture so far out in the cold that people don't think about too often? What do they believe in? What are their rituals? Eskimos are known as an Inuit culture, which I guess is actually pretty traditional in northern Russia and the northern Scandinavian. They are a very spiritual culture, believing that taboos are necessary to be done to please their gods and their goddesses. For example, by pleasing the underwater goddess Sedina, by obeying the taboos, she will release the animals to the hunters. Obeying taboos for Inuits result in things like food, health, warmth, and passing on into the next world. Now, their belief on death is quite interesting, actually. Their beliefs fall under the 6 beliefs of afterlife, it being number 3, reincarnation. But they believe there are 2 separate parts of one soul. The first part is the breath soul, and the second part is called the free soul. The breath soul is the mind of a person, the brain, if you will. And if a person dies, that part of the soul is lost. And the free soul then may reincarnate. So, if a person in an Inuit culture dies before old age, a Nazavik was in order. This meant there was a 5-day period for mourning, and specific rules had to be followed. One of the rules being the family affected by the loss had to mourn publicly. They believed in doing so, it would prevent a mental illness. The rituals are very important to the Inuits because if they aren't followed, it is believed they will starve, be hunted by spirits, become ill, and much more. Another rule was the weapons had to be carried. These weapons were to help encounters with the evil spirits. Other rules were things such as if a death was located in a house, all the items had to be thrown out. But a child, if a child died, as long as the body was moved immediately after death, a mother could keep all the items. Interesting enough, when visiting the deceased, they are only allowed to visit the body for the first year, and specific rules are to be followed. When visiting for the first time, the grave must be passed, then they can turn around and visit them, and if this is not done, there could be sickness to the family. It's tradition to be buried at the place of birth. And when you're buried at the place of birth, a white rock is placed at the top where a headstone in our culture would be placed. This guards the body against spirits. If the body is male, it must face north, because the women have to face south towards the sun, because they get cold easier. Before the body can be buried, it must be kept overnight in the house, wrapped in skins. When the body is wrapped, only an old woman or an old enough woman to get married can wrap the body. The body can only exit out the back door. If exited anywhere else, it will bring bad luck to the hunters. Anyone carrying the body is to wear caribou skin cloths. And for the remainder of the Nazvik, they must yell out, "We call to the dead to make him return again, though we know he cannot hear." Now, if a person in the Inuit culture reaches old age and lived a long and hard life, that elder was sent down to the river to their death on a floating iceberg. The elder faces death alone and will either freeze or starve to death. As horrific and sad as that is, the Inuit culture is very hardworking. So they have to work hard and fight every day for the rest of their lives in order to survive. They cannot support adults who cannot contribute to their fight. They cannot fight for their life and fight for their elders' lives too. Inuits look at death as next and better life, a new life. So when they send the old and the fragile off, they are sending them to new, to be reborn, to live.